Is the business finally taking the wheel on digital transformations, and is IT finally giving up control of internal digital transformation projects? That's what we're going to talk about here today. Excited for today's conversation. And our guest is someone you may recognize. He's been on this podcast before many times. Even if you haven't seen him on this podcast, you may know who he is. I'll let him introduce himself here in just a moment. But before we do, just a couple quick housekeeping items. My name is Eric Kimberling. I'm the CEO of Third Stage Consulting, and we're an independent and tech agnostic consulting firm that helps clients throughout the world with their digital transformation journeys. I've been in the technology space not as long as our guest but I've been in this space for a little while, for 30 years now, and excited to have our guest here today to talk about something that I think is very relevant, because I think one thing that's a challenge here in today's world of IT and ERP and digital transformation is how do you get rid of that vendor lock? How do you ensure that the business is in control of its own technology initiatives? And how do you ensure that you're taking that control back from IT? Not that IT is a bad thing, but how do you take that control back? That's what we're going to talk about here today, amongst other things. And joining me to have this conversation, and by the way, I encourage you all to ask questions as we go through this conversation here today. And before I introduce our guest, if you don't mind just jumping in real quickly, chime in, let me know what city and country you're joining from today. I'd love to hear from you here today in terms of what city and country you're joining from here today. So joining me to have this conversation here is Jan Baan, who I don't even know how to introduce you, because there's so much I could say about you, but I'll let you introduce yourself. And I want to thank you for being here again this time.
Okay. Thank you again for inviting me. I'm Jan Baan. I'm 80 years old, still feeling young, but all 50 years in business, starting with ERP. But the name was maybe wrong. We call it Enterprise Resource Planning, but the name was wrong. In reality, it became not more than Entity Resource Planning. It became never Enterprise. But by the way, I was leading with SAP in what we call transactional systems. And then after 20 years, I saw the internet coming, and ERP has no browser. And that means I came to the conclusion we have to go further. ERP is a transactional system of records. And then we say we have to go enterprise. And then we started more with BPM and with SOAR service-oriented architecture to take all those silos like ERP, PLM, MES, shop floor control, CRM, PL, and all those elements, and unite them together from the silos into an end-to-end enterprise data framework to metadata. But it was the infancy of the internet. And then it was in the beginning of the century, I burned my ships because I came to the conclusion ERP is obsolete. It was maybe too early. But we adopted ERP and brought it to enterprise. But it was the beginning point of the enterprise. We say, if you see more in the, when you start in, and if you see ERP is maybe 20% of the data stream is in the beginning. And then with the internet, we move more to processes, but it was the infancy of the internet. But now with big data and machine learning, and later with AI, we're moving more to the downstream, to the job to be done, and what we call to the workflow. And there you see the shadow ERP, what Eric mentioned, all where we see these terrible spreadsheets, PDFs, etc., is so dangerous to see therein. And problem today is these three areas are not integrated. On this moment, ERP is isolated, the processes are isolated. And if you go from ERP to process, then you go from a transaction to case management. And it's a totally new way of thinking. And you have to unite them. But now we go from case management to what we see, the APIs, and to even what I call semantic databases. And later on, I explain more there. But that's what I do. And still full involved. I'm now founding, how many years already, the Rappit company, mid-sized, but we have 350 employees, a lot in India. And the core people are still my people in Baan. We have many people who are 35 years, 44 years with us. And it means we have, what we see, the tissues between all the three layers. And that is our unique points. I've been there on 2 other places, burned my ships 2 times, but adopted the knowledge. And the attitude is still the same. That's so far maybe my introduction.
Right. Well, we're great to have you here today. I appreciate you joining. And I oftentimes refer to you as the godfather, the pioneer of the ERP category. And what's interesting about what you're doing now is, I always find that you're a good living case study of the concept of creative destruction.
Yeah.
To use I think it's Clayton Christensen that developed that concept. And you in some ways are, I don't want to say you're intentionally destroying the category you helped create, but
And more or less you do, but what you do, you bring it in a new wave. And that means it's what we say, burning my ships is the crucial part, because and what I'm doing is hard to do it by a startup. We have a big company in the Netherlands, ASML, the biggest from Europe. And ASML is never could be a startup. They could do what we call skunk works. That means you come out of a home of something. Now, I never could start what I'm doing now with startups. I adopted everything from systems of records, burned it, but take the attitude and move a step further to the processes, and then again quit again and go to the knowledge worker. And you see the integration in the beginning was an enterprise service bus, and now you see the APIs. And what we do is the crucial part, you follow the consumerization, and ERP is not following that. And that means an aeroplane is still in the cockpit, not so modern, because they are not adopting the new Apple stuff, etc. Regulations allow them not. And the car is much more innovative in this stuff they're in. And that's what we should do. And on the end, is the job to be done. And the EBITDA is not ERP. Even the ERP is bolts and nuts. Per kilo is not so much. But when you sell the car, it's the latest moment in the downstream, and that's where you're making EBITDA. And on this moment, the workflow is terrible, kind of adopt the ERP part is not united. And on this moment, more than 98% is still SQL database. It's stupid because we have 50 years in big data. And with SQL databases, you are static. And then we move to metadata, and now we are in semantic databases. And that's the core part. You have a semantic database with what you see there, you have BigQuery, Elasticsearch, and that is the only foundation to do AI. AI, and later on we'll come back, but AI on the transactional system is extremely dangerous. Extremely.
Why is that?
It's like a Ferrari engine on a motorbike, on a bike, on an old bike. And because what you deal there, you should decouple, you deal there with deterministic data. And AI is probabilistic. It's approximately. And if you are in the ERP world, and if you send 100 containers to the wrong ocean, then you're bankrupt. And an agent can do it immediately for you. And the agent can destroy it. And people are not aware of it. And if you bring your ERP to your vendor, you're the most crazy part. And that's what the vendor like. You're locked in. But now the vendor is spending trillions and hundreds of billions. And the only way to convince and continue there is with the old software, is to lock you. And then now doing your AI. But then the AI belongs to the vendor. And why is it that the market cap of the vendor is 10 or 20 times the revenue, and you as the customer from us is only 1 time the revenue? Yeah. The market cap should go to the customer. We have to go to what I call customer intimacy. And on this moment is only vendor lock-in. And vendors do not understand customers. There you need a system integrator. The vendor has no role in your boardroom, do not understand it. The vendor has no clue what you're doing. The vendor brings what they call best practice, but when SAP is best practice, is what they say, hey, I'm milking you. At your service, how can I milk you? Right. And the way they milk you is they send you best practice, but best practice is only what they're thinking, and they do not understand the market. Best practice is the opposite of operational excellence. Right. Best practice has nothing to do with operational excellence. And by the way, if you decouple it, why are you not different than your competitor? That means the latest moment, the bespoke part only should be your own and should be never in your vendor's solution, because this is where you use new technology, and you do it in old technology. You're locked in technology who is 30 years old. And that is what you should do in AI. In AI, you should do your bespoke.
Right. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. I'm going to come back to that concept of AI and decoupling and everything in here in a moment. But before I do that, though, there's something I want to touch on here, which is, the whole premise of today's conversation is this idea that the business is finally taking the driver's seat back from IT. Now, we've heard this before. You've been in this industry longer than I have. I've been in it for 30 years. You've been even longer. We've heard this promise before with RAD, rapid application development in the 90s. Then we had citizen development. Then we had low code. What's different this time? Is this really going to happen this time? Is business really going to take the seat back?
It was pseudo. Low code is pseudo because low code is only dealing with citizen. And that is not where the business is. The business is the whole data flow. And low code was only on the margin to do some things what anywhere too hard for SAP or Oracle to do it. And it was pseudo, it was only helping for the spreadsheet world, helping the business in the workflow. And the workflow was not united. And if you call workflow as isolated business, then you're nonsense. Business, your whole end-to-end data stream. You have two elements. You have the decoupled data stream, and what you need is late binding. That means we have the latency of the business, where you should do everything integrated, but on the other hand, we have real time. And real time cannot be united on the database in the latency. That should be decoupled. And when I have my mobile, everything now can be done on the latest moment. I can have my IoT on the latest moment here in the business. No, when I say workflow never was integrated with also with IoT. And now on this moment, business without IT can do, and we have a revolutionary idea there, we call it the blueprint. And the blueprint is done with also our AI-driven tools, where immediately we can adopt every screen, the old system, we call it reverse engineering. There we adopt the legacy part and bring it in a unique database. It's phase zero, call it. In phase zero, but normally when you have something in phase zero, you can write it on your blackboard, but only for 1 minute is active. But the blueprint is continuously stored in a semantic database, and all the participants in business are stored and isolated, and even I can trace it back 5 years from now and see who made the decision. We could have our meeting herein. We can have every document therein. Everything today now, if you look to Notebook LM and see a little what you can adopt therein, that is adopted in our blueprint. And the first time now in our blueprint, we can collaborate, and that means business people. Normally, a COO can talk with smart people over business, and then a year later, only IT can execute a year later what can happen, and then a year later is implemented. Now, in the same afternoon, business will see it and optimize it, and can every day optimize it. That means we can continuous improvement for the first time now, driven with AI, what never was ever before, every day. And if you improve every day 1%, it seems very little, it's 300% a year. That means what you do, you no longer do backbench. What you do now, no replacement, etc. It's continuous improvement, and step by step you bring from the upstream. We call it their sunset, and you go step by step, replace it to workflow. But now one problem: if you look to ERP, it's difficult. Silicon Valley does not understand ERP. They have no clue what a master bucket scheduling means. It is so complicated. You see master bucket scheduling, all the planning, all the logistics stuff. Even many ERP companies do not. Maybe only 4 or 5. The most ones do nice what they do, but they do not understand this type of heavy stuff. Now, but then you have a core element in ERP. We call it customer or decouple point. There was a unique point in Baan, who still now belong to Infor. And what is the customer or decouple point? You have everything before. That means if you do a make to stock, then you do a generic. But assemble to order is specific. It's downstream on the customer or decouple point. And Baan was the only one who could handle assemble to order, make to stock, etc. Now I bring this customer or decoupling point as a central point. And it means everything downstream, south of the customer or decouple point, can be done with microservices, even project control. Why are you doing so stupid? If you see project control is difficult with the scan chart, and you see more Kanban oriented. But why should you do it in ERP with all this stock, etc.? You make it too complicated. Because when it is customer specific, no one is interested, then only what is the cost. You can do it 100 times cheaper. Now that means most people do not understand this. These are the fundamentals in the architecture element. And if you go now to AI and Silicon Valley does not understand it, that's a problem. And what they do then, they go in the deterministic part, the most deterministic part of this customer or the decouple point is the generic part. And they go with AI. It is so dangerous. AI, there should not be internet access there to AI.
Right.
And what we do, we say AI should never be more than a butler and working for the knowledge worker. Right. And even vibe coding is so dangerous because no one can understand the code. You do it again. We are not doing, we use only AI in this, what we call ideation. Right. If you see in phase 0, you have the ideation. And there you build a whole enterprise from business standpoint. again and again. Then you couple it, and then you execute it. And executing, we do it in a manufacturing way with a bill of material, the S-BOM. And an S-BOM cares from all the open source elements, etc. But we here it changes to use vibe coding. That's only for citizen development. We use Java, plain Java. We did already for many years. And it is a trustful environment, totally open, and it's always the same. And it's done in a safe way. And with Google, there what we can do in this, if you go to these APIs there, you can extremely have a tremendous speed for tens of thousands of users in what you see for the database with this BigQuery, etc.
Right. Now, I want to come back to that point in just a moment. But before I do, though, I just want to jump to the audience here real quick. We've got a couple comments here. We have Hemchandra on LinkedIn says, "Great to see you both together." Thank you for that nice comment, Hemchandra. And then Alina on LinkedIn says, "Hello, we need more smart people like you guys." So a couple great comments here. Thank you both for joining here today. I want to get to a point you made, though, about you were talking about AI a moment ago, and we're talking about some of the IT cycles, the tech cycles and trends that have happened in the years past. But in the past, each of these earlier waves that have happened, these earlier trends have left behind shadow IT and ungoverned applications. Now, what do you think about AI? Does AI-led development remove that risk, or does it just make the sprawl and the shadow IT faster and harder?
Terrible. AI is supporting shadow IT because you do it only for the citizen, and you have a spreadsheet. And then again, out of the chaos, you even make it long, but it should be dynamic and it is statical. And AI have no role therein. AI is only the application, and the human can do it more and bring it in. AI is driving the human, and the human should deal in this area in a semantic way. And a spreadsheet is most dangerous program what you can expect. It's terrible. And Microsoft is taking even the spreadsheet as a gateway for a knowledge worker where you have all the rules, but you need no spreadsheet. Now I can use a spreadsheet to adopt it, but then it is the end. The end of the spreadsheet is only PDF. And that is a terrible stuff what you're doing. The same what we see on this moment, but we can adopt some things, and like AI can adopt on this moment, even be like the internet. That all the traffic in the internet, we like to adopt them even, but that are agentic microservices, and those services, they are all dynamic, and it means at least they cannot deal with their SQL. At least they should, and we adopt SQL there in the semantic database with the BigQuery and with this Elasticsearch. Now, and this is, and you can Dockerize, you can make it open, and there then you fine tune it for the job to be done. Because on the end, it's only the person when the rubber meets the road, and this person should be facilitated with the applications, with the AI, and then we see the guys. I have a chair, and I go to 6 screens the whole day. 80% of my time, when I'm a very professional person, I have to connect 6 screens together and unite them. Now that's what AI is doing. The integration. That means the knowledge worker can be 4 or 5 times more productive, because they have no longer caring to all this individual data streams from different equipments. The data should come immediately in a data stream, and then AI have a function, and then we can even control the AI from the deterministic part. If I deal with the backend, one and one is always 2. If I deal with a prospect, and for 90% maybe the order will come, I can produce already, and then AI can help me. Even the coding is important. We need the deterministic way, but AI is only efficient in the probabilistic part. But if you go to a web page and maybe you sell some things, now AI maybe can help you to be a style guide, and that you sell maybe 2 times more, 3 times more, informing you. But on the end, when it comes back, this data should be protected in the deterministic way. Not so many people have a clue over there. And this totally holy, it should be totally decoupled, these 2 areas.
Right. Yeah, makes totally sense. Now, in the ideation phase, who's actually doing the work? Is this the business analyst with better tools, a plant manager with...
You, could be you. That means we see the most idea is already that there's also the system integrator already is the consultants in the ideation phase with propelled with reverse engineering. We take all the old stuff already and have the data model. Now, on this moment, the source code by SAP and Oracle is hidden in the compiler. But for me, it's not hidden. I can see 20,000 screens. Now, my brains cannot handle them, but AI can do it in a few minutes. And out of these 20,000 screens, you see exactly who is dealing with a small piece in a screen in the data. And from there, we are rebuilding in a modern way the data model, but on a user-based level. Even better than, but you see this 100, if you see by SAP, this 100,000 plus database tables, it's terrible. The most terrible stuff you have there. And even they do not know it, what it means. And even it's not even metadata in many cases. Now, metadata is even not enough. It must be semantic, and from this phase 0 is done, the best idea is a business consultant. It could be good that the business consultant is uniting by an architect, and maybe by a smart data guy who is doing the understanding the AI. These three people, but the core is on the moment the business. In my opinion, a CIO and a CDO should report to the COO,
Right.
and even not to the CFO.
Yeah.
The COO, and maybe the data expert is maybe the assistant of the CEO.
Right.
If you are smart, understanding the value of the data, you stay above IT, and even maybe you stay before business. And that could be a good element that those smart people who can deal with these algorithms and understand this one could be extremely efficient, but only if they understand the business.
Right. Right.
With the core is always phase 0. But phase 0, what we see now today, is dynamic. Now we are maybe on this moment the only one who do this with this blueprint in a dynamic way. And then we store everything like you do in the traceability area. And crucial is also there we do for Hoyer, a big company, means where we do a transportation management system, one of the leading in the world. Now, there sometimes we deal with 40 people who understand all those areas, and they have to collaborate. And if they're collaborating, maybe they do not understand all the security, etc. Now, AI helps you there. Hey, what to do? That means AI is around you to assist you in phase 0, where what we can, our brains cannot understand, and that make us 5 times more productive, understanding the business and investigating what to do. And AI can in our chaos of thinking, make structure. It's amazing for me what I'm doing 5 times more with AI. But what I'm doing now, I have all my data maybe from 50 years. I stored in my notebook, etc. But now I can do so much what gives me a better structure, what my brains normally could not do this. Don't let me not limit it, AI, but even be aware it's so dangerous on this moment. It is the wrong hands. And it's manipulated by the oligarchs. You have only 5 people in the world who control the whole world. And these oligarchs are dangerous. They have only the benefit to become richer and richer and richer. They only like to lay off people. But why should you lay off people? If AI helping you to be 4 times more productive and make a double EBITDA, AI cannot smile. AI cannot cry. AI cannot do customer intimacy. Why should you not? And the tokens are becoming so expensive. We are squeezed. Now, that means also we should be LLM. I'm LLM independent. I can use Chinese models. I can everyone. Now, and do it. That is also, you have to understand how to use these LLM models. And why should we not use our creative people who are maybe cheaper than agent over time with this, because we underestimate the cost of tokens.
Right.
Maybe you've heard it. What was it with this car guy, and where is 3 months or so they were already out of budget, and now we are squeezed because and realize AI brings no value for the business yet. All the billions are only played to the oligarchs internally. It's only the tool makers are making their money, but the business are making no money from AI yet.
Right.
But they can, in my opinion, they can triple the EBITDA. But yet it is only in the beginning, and even if you do it in ERP, you are not where the money is, the EBITDA. You are only in the beginning where the complication is.
Right. Right. And that tokenization and the you look at all the money that AI companies are spending
Yeah,
on infrastructure build out and whatnot. At
yeah,
some point, they're going to have to turn a profit, and to turn
yeah,
a profit, they're
exactly.
going to have to
Now, and we
monetize.
see it's only 2% is effective, but the 2% brings a lot already. That's the opposite. That means if I increase the productivity of the knowledge worker 4 times, that's what we at least can do. If you have not to do the data, if you inform, but only when it is customer related, when it is EBITDA related.
Right.
There is where AI has the most money. And when it and optimizing the infrastructure with the integration layer, the data structure, the semantic layer, this is where AI helping the knowledge worker to understand the whole data stream.
Right. Yeah, that makes total sense. I'd love to hear from the audience, your thoughts here, because this can be a controversial topic for some to say that IT should take a back seat and business should take control of enterprise applications, and not everyone agrees with that. So I'd love to hear from the IT professionals in the group here, whether you're a CIO or an IT leader or a consultant. What do you think of this whole hypothesis that business should take the wheel. Business should take ownership of these projects. I've been in debates around this before, yeah, and I'm curious to hear if you've heard this too. But I've heard some technologists say, "Look, you should never let the business run or take control of IT because they don't understand. They don't understand architecture. They don't understand what's best for them. That sort of thing."
There was
Um,
in the beginning that people say you should never drive a car.
right?
It was not consumerized.
Yeah. Good point.
And it's always everything should be servicing to the business. What you're doing. It was only too complicated. That means IT was important to be a new tool maker. Like in the past with a car or with an airplane today, I'm not able to fly the airplane. But when it is simplified, when it is even in what we see therein, there's no longer need for it. It could be self-driving. We see even by self-driving cars. I mean, they say I'm a chauffeur for my whole life. It's maybe then you have a problem.
Right. Right. Yeah, good point. Here's a question from Third Stage on YouTube. What other ways have you found to control AI? You were talking about AI. We've
Yeah,
talked a bit about AI
yeah.
sprawl and
Now,
AI getting out of control in some ways, but what are
crucial.
some ways you found to control that?
Crucial. AI should always be controlled. I mean, AI helped me tremendous, but even when I'm coming, I'm now having my personal mentor. I call him my person. I did with Gemini, and I was able now to fine tune him first person to be help me tremendous. But we are always in debate, and he's always too positive for me. But he can help me, and I'm coming back. Only suppose you are a top professor and you have, say, 25 assistant professors or smart people. They can help you tremendous, but on the end, you should adopt it. That means AI can never be more than a butler. And everything what AI brings should be to the customer, to an element, a controllable element, always adopted by a human. But the human is growing so fast now. And when I'm seeing how fast I'm growing, you even mentioned, Eric, how more efficient you are now than a year ago. That means you see that AI every day helps us, give us more power, and we see that we're becoming more unique because AI is not creative. AI on this moment is only expecting the next word,
Hmm.
and it's only doing what others have done because they have stolen the Microsoft have stolen etc. the whole internet, and that's the reason that the prediction of AI is it's only stolen data where they can predict so much. But the prediction is only adopted from something before. It's not creative.
Hmm.
Now, and don't overestimate AI therein. At the other end, don't underestimate how efficient AI. Suppose if you go with a horse, only with a horse, or still with a smart car, or etc. Don't underestimate how efficient AI could be as my butler to increase myself.
Right.
And that, but I'm responsible. I should control it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Very, very interesting. I'm curious to hear what the audience thinks about around the concept of business controlling technology too. I know we just talked about controlling AI, but if we talk about IT in general, who should be controlling enterprise applications? I'd love to hear from the audience here. So drop in the chat what your thoughts are here. But just playing devil's advocate here, Jan, when a business user generates an enterprise application, or when a business when a business organization is in charge of enterprise applications, who then owns the governance, the data integrity, and the security, and who owns the accountability when
That's
something
always
fails?
different. Now, on the one hand, you see the DevOps is done in the even IT part, but that's isolated. If you're in the factory, there's even the business people in the factory. The factory worker on the shop floor owns it. It's different people who owns it. Because you have, in my opinion, it's the cybersecurity element. It's very crucial is the DevOps. Now, we do with all the, if you do vibe coding, you have no DevOps.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, and what you do therein with AI is only citizen. But on this moment, there is no enterprise. But now we dealing AI can adopt me to do the whole enterprise, and that means on the end, it's the CEO is always a business, but it's delegated. Like even who is closing the door on the end of the day is not the CEO, but he's responsible. That means there are different jobs on everything. See it as a factory. If you build a car, one is doing the seats, one is doing the wheels, one is doing etc. One is doing the infrastructure. Now, what we have now is an ecosystem to the supply chain. On this moment, there is no supply chain because there's no semantic database. But now we're moving more in the supply chain, and we're going also what we call in collaboration, collaborating the same elements. Now, we did it a little by multi-tenant, only on a job, like what Salesforce is. But Salesforce is very simple. It's only CRM. Nothing more, and it's only simple collaboration with multi-tenant. But you the one and bring it in. Now, more crucial for me is we should be sovereign. And I don't not like that even Bush or and even if you see your president on this moment can say I should look to your data and what's going on. That's extremely dangerous for the Americans, and we go totally to sovereign. Now what we have is 5 layers. Jason Hang mentioned it. We have the layer of electricity. Now, who cares for that? Electricity cannot see what you're doing. Second, you have the layer of the chips. They can see not, only NVIDIA knows more, they have more. Then you have the layer of the distribution, is the internet with Microsoft, Google, and Amazon. And then we have the layer of AI. Now, NVIDIA controls all. But that's not enough. We have now the layer of what we are in the application. That's the business layer. And that is a stack owner. Now we are there, but maybe the only one anywhere who is there. The stack owner, why was it that in Baan's time, Oracle, but also SAP and ourselves, our market cap was so high, we were the owners of the stack. And the application, the AI, agentic AI builders should be the owners of the stack. And if you own those stack, should be 7. Now, why, if you're thinking architectural, why should we have the data of humans? In America, now, in the Netherlands, we have only 80 million people. In maybe 2 hours, I can build a certificate of birth from the whole country. And no one should know the name. I should know your name only 1 second before the rubber meets the road. And we put all those stuff in and store it and have all this compliance stuff. It's nonsense. You have entity modeling. If you take only the entity out and do it on-prem, maybe, in architecture, that no one knows it. Now then, very easy, like electricity, you can make it sovereign. And then you do the rest a little encrypting, then Google cannot see what I'm doing. Although Google offers already a lot of sovereign tools.
Right.
But take care, the sovereignty is one of the most crucial parts. In my opinion, in 1 or 2 days, you should switch from Amazon to Google, that you can negotiate. Now, then we see the drama of Microsoft with Windows, a tremendous drama. Stealing, controlling everything. They're so old. They are so old. They are not owners like Google. They own no AI. Right. They own no customers, but they own only the PC. And then they're a disaster in this PC where they every 2 seconds they control it. And in Japan they came to it and they saw the terrible element of Windows and say now AI should take over, that you need no longer a menu because then AI can do it, then we own you forever. But take care that you never deal with a vendor for AI. Right. Even Salesforce like to invest to keep you, when Salesforce is in the infancy of the internet, it's not really professional.
Right.
I was there 20 years ago. That is even where we see low code is in the infancy of the, it's not even on big data. Now, that means we were already with Vertex for many years, with machine learning. We did already what you see, all these semantic elements there. It's a step by step, but now the enrichment of the tools by far is it by my now Google. If you see how strong they are, because they own everything therein, and then it's already by Google is already paid from the what they have you in from the search. But the only luxury from Google is all paid. All the others have to make their money.
Right.
And that gives Google, in my opinion, a very advanced position therein. But even you cannot trust them. You then for the devils, there, people. That means you should take care that you are sovereign and that you are agnostic. You should Dockerize your stuff and take care everything. But it's simple. There's an architectural element. There's a manufacturing element. We have therefore our SBOM, our software bill of material, where you decouple all the components. And what we built is we call it ever young, evergreen. That means every month I can totally refresh it. If you have low code, you start and 5 years later you're still in the same version.
Right.
Software is ever young because you can permanently, and if you go from Java 11 to 15 or so, it's should be 1 day to decouple it and bring it in.
Right.
And what we did for many years, we did it in Baan's time already in the software factory. Be agnostic. We are a manufacturing company. It's simple. It's not rocket science. That is not. It's normal. The manufacturing companies know it. How you build a car. I mean, in a car, every second the car is built therein. And if you see, your Americans are not so good in car builders, and even the Chinese know. We in Europe know how to do make to order, make to stuff. I like not these Tesla cars where everything is the same. Right. And you cannot do it. You cannot do it. You guys are only mass because the way in America that you do all mass. I believe in Europe, if you have the level 5 in the stack and focus on customer specific, this is where you can win. And this is where you do it in your own, not the vendor is doing that. This is where you as a company can be smart. If you can do assemble to order, make the stock.
Right.
And still make the stock, but still even assemble to order. And make it specific. And then we build a product and we say goodbye. But if you do a scanner in a hospital, it's for 50 years, it's solving your lives. And no one counted. It's the beginning. Normally we say bye-bye to my car is going, but this car will drive many years. And all those sensors can give you a subscription, a service, the serviceization. In the beginning, everything becomes, and at the end, everything becomes a service.
Right. Yeah, very interesting. Now, here's I asked the question to the audience of who should control IT. Should it be the true IT department? Should it be the business? And we got some comments on that. So Elena on LinkedIn says, who should control? It's whoever is smarter, don't you think? So I guess that's up for debate. Who in general is going to be smarter, the IT group or the business group?
Depends what you're doing. There's some elements, but what is part of control is the whole job. Some elements, like in the bill of material, but the core elements is the business. And on the part, the business was only related to the facilitating element of IT, and that's over. If I can make my blueprint without IT, and then it's generated in IT, it's deployed in IT, that means it's not saying IT is not important. Of course, if we do all this deployment cost, but IT should never dictate the business. IT does not understand the business.
Right. Yeah, very, very good point. And then this is from Craig on LinkedIn. Craig says the person who drives this needs the right knowledge and experience. My experience is that this sits with a specific person in the team rather than someone who has a specific job title. I would always use the person who has the vision, irrespective of their title. Yeah. On my experience, this may be the CEO, CFO, or CEO more often than the CIO.
Yeah,
so he's but a business owner here.
I agree with him, but there's two elements still. Now we are only looking to what exists and what is done years ago and what is deployed. And 80% of what we do in IT is maintenance, turn the light on. But now we're coming in a new area to do new business, what we not understand today and what we can do tomorrow and implement it next week. And then is a totally, normally it took us 3 years, but AI allows us now to oversee and do some things in 5 minutes, some in 2 hours, what we normally not could do in a year. And if business can adopt this one, then business can take the driver's seat in a new way of businesses. Now, then we have to learn what means it, the consequence. But that is, in my opinion, business. Business is innovative business. Business is not to do what we have found out 20 years ago. That's what we do. There's nothing changed in ERP. 90% is even turn the light on. There is no innovation.
Right. Yeah. No, it makes great sense. And then there's a comment from YouTube from Cheb Rubin on YouTube. He's actually commenting, giving me credit for something you said, Jan, but he's saying, what about your idea of using Odoo and AI for building major ERP SaaS cloud features specific to
I cannot do it. Odoo is nice, but Odoo is like low code and it's good in workflow. Odoo was the only one, the first one who could do the simplicity in it, but Odoo they have not done even the master scheduling, the complex elements therein. And I should say, upstream, the customer decouple point, let it stay where it is. There is no reason. Info is one of the best in my opinion. But if you see there, and if you see those guys, those processes are good enough for the next 3-4 years, and you make 10 times more money downstream than upstream if it is good. But instead of if you have 40, we did it by Solvay, by Vallejo, we had 40,000 SAP users, 40,000 users, and we built a project control with Kanban and oriented stuff, and we did it there in microservices, decoupled that. That could be easy done in Odoo. Be south of the decouple point, when it is customer specific, when it is more workflow oriented in the past, because the workflow is not strong enough with microservices to do this. And Odoo is one of the strongest who understand Google and understand how to build in an open source, how to build workflow elements that the customer themselves can do. It's very attractive. Therefore, you should unite. It's not monolithic. Do never monolithic. You can use maybe SAP or other stuff before the decouple point and Odoo downstream.
Right. Yeah. Great point.
And Odoo is then stronger because then low code is too simple. And Odoo is more or less the same, but have a manufacturing understanding from the related workflow process elements. And good with even understanding Google's technology, very good too, but not for the whole enterprise.
Right. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. It is compliment what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I like to give a compliment to Odoo.
Yeah.
But I've been there, and before they were born, we were there already. Because Silicon Valley does not understand, again, even the manufacturing core stuff.
Yeah.
And that is the only way to do it. You need it with old people who understand this, and they have to deal with youngsters to adopt, because there is so much in their mind. If you look in aerospace and defense, if you look what I did with Boeing, we have also 40,000 users in Boeing. But even if you see by Vallejo, they deal with, again, 40,000 people who are running this MRP stuff. But they do too much. These 40,000 people, maybe 400 is enough. Because the output of ERP should only be an input in an API. Nothing more. Yeah. But now we force, and if you look to the user interface, it stinks. It stinks very much, the user interface. It's so complicated. It's no UX. It's terrible. And if you do on the stinking user interface, we do then AI. It's like a Ferrari engine on an old bicycle. Now, why do we say, you should understand where can you do it architecture-wise.
Right. Now here's a comment from Hemchandra on LinkedIn. I won't read the whole question. I'll read the relevant or the most relevant part here. But one lesson from every ERP transformation I have led is that technology problems are usually governance problems in disguise. AI may democratize development, but it doesn't eliminate accountability. Is that something you've seen as far as more of us can do development now?
I should say, first who owns it is the enterprise. It's the boardroom. Now, normally the boardroom was isolated. And then it is to find out for what job, who is making the car, who is doing the chassis, who is doing anything. The same here, it does not mean what is IT, who cares? Because it is all united and we have a job to be done. And this job to be done are changing. Some people from AI have a better understanding for algorithms, etc., who could help us in data, who could help in quality, in testing. No, but testing is done. We do everything is now automatic testing before already with the phase 0. Do it already because you can do it permanently. But take care if you then fall back on AI and with vibe coding is so dangerous because every day you do it again is different.
Mhm.
And then you need smart people to analyze this vibe coding. But if you do it only for spreadsheets, who cares?
Right.
But if you do it for the deterministic data in the core manufacturing, suppose again you make a mistake and you're shipping 500 containers in the wrong ocean. Now maybe you can all go home.
Right. Right. So with all these trends you're talking about, when you look at AI, you're talking about business taking ownership or control of these projects from IT.
Yeah.
And essentially you're talking about the
No, but
democratization.
I should say collaborative. It's
Right.
when I in Baan say who owns it, the lowest level in the organization, better to ask for forgiveness than for patience. We call it the Baan culture. In India, everyone by me on the workflow make the decision. We say if you have problem with your boss, throw him out. You don't ask your boss. Better to ask for forgiveness.
Right.
If you understand the job, do it.
Right.
But
Right.
try to learn, but management should look a little who is the best facilitator to me. Maybe we take now the CIO and we make them COO, because maybe it's easy for the COO to learn the business. And so long already involved in the deployment of all this complex IT, could be a very good career.
Right. Right.
Because I'm not saying we have too much thinking, but in the past was the CIOs were too afraid because they were not fired by Oracle and SAP. And on average, and they were moving every 2 years. And most times CIOs were often, sorry to explain that, but more the chief procurement officer. And they came on the podium of Google or might made by Oracle because they were buying for a couple of millions every year, and they call them the smart people because they had a bill. And they procure, and they had so much power therein.
Right.
Now, but a smart guy, we are a team, and in a team, it's no longer the borders are moving. In the past, we had borders because you say, okay, now we have to execute. We don't understand it. Okay, maybe it was another company. It was an IT department.
Right. Right.
But now in the customization, you do it essentially. You do it in the business. You make a new workflow for 5 people in an afternoon.
Right.
But take care that all those microservices are united together. That's where people make the mistakes. Because if you do microservices, you have no clue from the whole data model, from the DevOps, and what means everything. That is what low code was destroying. Low code was overvalued.
Right. Now, what do you think will happen to the ERP category with AI? Do you think AI is going to destroy the ERP category? I know you're a big advocate of
Why should we
decoupling
say,
microservices and things. So tell us what the future of enterprise applications, enterprise technology looks like.
Normally ERP is over. What is ERP? Because if you look to ERP, it's not the foundation. The foundation is PLM. The foundation is the bill of material. The beginning of the bill of material is the design, the CAD/CAM. Now, and even that is not good integrated. AI can now unite them better together downstream, but we should have one element between the bill of material, totally. And if I know already from the design in the bill of material, then you have the predicted maintenance on the end. And if you can unite them together, a whole building, that is all elements of the total. If you go to enterprise, we call it ERP because most money was therein. And the ERP guys, no one have a good understanding from PLM. They like to do it. And what they did is monolithic. You see, Ariba has nothing to do with ERP, and even this, what was it, what they bought for my friends out of Israel, this other small people from SAP. These three are united, have nothing to do with each other. Different source code, no uniting. But the marketing power, they bring it together, and you're more in the pitfall, and you cannot come out. They killed you. We are killed by the monolithic vendors from vendor lock-in. Now, what we say, vendor lock-in is the most dangerous part. Take care that you're no longer vendor locked in, and even do nothing in a vendor lock-in situation with AI. Now, and if you look what is on ERP in the future, and it should more composable. What is composable? But we are not. The money is not in ERP. The money is in the. We should more say the driver's seat is the workflow. There is where you make the money.
Right.
What is the kilo price in the beginning from ERP is 5% from when you sell the car on the end, when the rubber meets the road. Look to the EBITDA, and what we are doing, we call it EBITDA propelling. If you now buy an ERP ERP is consuming EBITDA. And you know it, and you make all your money from all those disasters. 70% is a disaster. And we say next year, don't expect dividend because we do for a new SAP implementation. It's terrible if you look to it.
Yeah.
No, it should not be consuming EBITDA, it should be propelling EBITDA. And the propelling is, I call it, instead of ERP, call it the semantic data stream. The core is the data, and without data, you cannot do AI. And people have no clue today, and data is a chaos today. Now we build it, we adopt immediately the SQL data, we bring it immediately in the data lake, the same end to end, and then the data ministry can continue. We can come back, can continue, but step by step, and in the data lake you need 3 databases. You adopt the SQL, you do the BigQuery, and you need the Elasticsearch, where you have all this all together. If you do not have that together, you never can run an enterprise where you like to do. And 90% do not have it. That means it is so old-fashioned. My same old source code from 40 years is still there.
Right.
We did it with a famous Baan shell. And even Inforis using this Baan shell was already decoupled, but it is not cloud native. ERP was only, if you know a browser, it can do a little, that looks like we are on the internet.
Right, right.
But how are you doing with 100,000 database tables and all this terrible stuff? And then you do all this M&A. Now, Larry Ellison was keen. He integrated a very smart part. Larry Ellison is doing a lot of M&A, and the total integration is he can offer you one bill. And he called it fusion. I call it confusion. But he called it fusion, and he will send you one bill. And that's the only integrated one. But if you look to GD Atlas and all the stuff is totally different.
Right.
And if you see even Navision, if you see what is it, this service, if you see also the cloud solution or cloud, they are and they're even they're conflicting with each other. They only can go to the low end to the end. It is not a monolithic solution.
Right.
And on the end, it should be done. The customization should be done by the customer themselves, the business themselves. It is dangerous then maybe for the Accentures, etc. I believe in the future. The future is in the boutique system integrators.
Why is that?
Will win, and they are in the boundaries. They are in the driver's seat. They are in the boardroom. If you have a smart boutique system integrator, they understand with the customer to do the architecture. If they have 25 people, which is good enough, and this partner organization with the cheap labor in India, they will have the problem.
Right, right. Now, when you look at the major ERP vendors, I know you mentioned some of your preferences with not your preferences, but your admiration of Infor and some of the others.
Yeah, it's my whole product. I see Infor
Right.
is still. There's only the Baan. I prefer the Baan product. If Infor 11, because there is they decouple with the Baan shell. They decouple the same element, and the foundation is their customer decouple point. It's maybe one of the only one where this foundation, that was the stuff what we built already, was still there, was still a unique element, because these are the fundamentals of manufacturing.
Right.
And there you can handle all kind of manufacturing in the decouple point therein. But the source code is obsolete, it's older, but it's maybe like others is good enough. That means and it could be everyone. If you have even GD Atlas, or if you have a good running system, don't replace it. Could even be on-prem. Why not? But why should you spend all the money therein and of course go to Rimini Street? I like what they're doing. They are better in support because they like the support. When you go to SP, they hate it because they make costs because you have already the money. They like it and they know how to support you.
Right.
Those more specific ones are very respected ones. I like them in the way they do it. They do it for half the money.
Right.
And why should you go then to another version? Because it's not coming another CPU, etc.
So how do you think the big incumbents in this industry, whether it's SAP, Oracle, and Microsoft on the technology side, or if it's the big, you mentioned the boutique consultancies you think have an advantage, or the boutique SIs.
Yeah.
What about Accenture, Deloitte?
I'm afraid for every big. Everything who's big is now unite themselves. There are 5 companies in the world who good for 40 trillion market cap. And all these poor customers, it's better than our manufacturing companies are making more money. It's better if you have 40,000 unicorns by manufacturing companies. We should make our customers strong.
Right.
And there are more, and some people say maybe the most dangerous part are the oligarchs who are protecting themselves. We have a voting right, and there should be customer intimacy. This is a world where everything is consumerized, and then you need no longer a big company. There is no reason that a big company have less to offer than the small one, because everything is consumerized. In the past, you need unique people and controlling and selling, but now it's open. You have open source, the open tools. Now, in some areas, you need an infrastructure. Now, take care that you're not locked in, and that you're fighting for a sovereign way. You cannot trust them, but for a while. But at the other end, there's always a certain dependency. But take care that everything should be agnostic. That in a few months or so, that you can go from one to another.
Right.
And that is only, it's not rocket science. It's only an architectural element. But we are all too lazy, because I'm not fired. In the Netherlands, they bought everything by Microsoft because you're never fired.
Right. Right.
And then there was a lawsuit, and the lawsuit was opposite, even with these terrible window solutions therein.
Right.
No, and then you do it because you're not fired.
Right. Right.
Now, I believe what you guys are doing is, it should start with participating in the SIs, focusing on phase 0. That is the crucial, and there is where this is groundwork.
Right.
And the knowledge is not so often available, even not in bigger companies. And that is the lack of control, that even the IT departments have no clue themselves for phase 0 in often. Now, that is shaming. They call themselves, because it means they can only do the maintenance.
Right.
And cannot follow the future. Now, let all be united, and that's why we are building this ideation. Is the core element. I see it, the blueprint, the dynamic blueprint. And it should be a dynamic element. And it should be a collaborative element that you can because there are dozens of different entities where people in this department have no clue what the other department. There is the whole business in an enterprise, even a company 500 people, cannot be in one brain. And that means you collaborate, and that is like you make this like a bill of material. It's not in the past we say we make one project, but we cannot do it. We say we cannot make one part of a car. No, the same as bill of material. You bring different entities, but the different entities have an architecture where you work together, and this should be phase 0. And if you have phase 0 good, you should do it again. And then I'm going also for evergreen refreshing. What you should, because coding, even with 5 coding has no longer value. We see it already now with 5 coding. But code has no value. It's only maintenance. And the code is only an execution element. If you can do, and now the code was forever. We have still code for more than 40 years old in SAP. It's not new. That's the terrible stuff. Suppose that you have a car with components where 60% of the components of your new car is 40 years old. That is what we see. IT have the name of innovation, but it's very, very poor. It's very handicraft. Everything is handmade. Now, on the other hand, what we do, we generate Java, and 80% immediately, 90% immediately, but always the latest point a human is there. But what I cannot generate, the human can build it, decouple it. The perfect is the enemy of the good. I mean, there's always room for a human to do something, but then is it tested? Is it good? And it takes maybe 5 months to do a small piece, but this piece is so valuable, it makes value complete. Always is the human. And Java programmers don't like low code. Why? Because they are working then in a factory. They like to be furnishing the stuff. The .NET people, the Java people like no .NET. .NET was not in the business. Java was the business language. And if you do, and these people understand, no, and if you're a smart Java programmer, they can do what AI not can do.
Right.
AI have no clue to do this. That means use them, and that is where you built your team. But why should you do everything if it can be for 90% generated? And if you generate it, it's 10 times faster. It's deployed. everything is a manufacturing element, but on the dashboard you can do something by hand. But
Yeah.
under the hood, you should generate it.
Right. Yeah, it makes
Now,
total sense.
That is, my opinion, a manufacturing way of thinking, a manufacturing concept.
Right. Now you're going to be presenting at our Digital Stratosphere conference in Denver in
My
September.
honor, for the third time.
Yeah, I'm third time in a row, third time's a charm, and I'm excited.
But now I'm 80 years is now, but okay, but my honor to do it for you.
You're still making the trip from Netherlands to Denver
Yep.
to the US, so I appreciate that. And if you aren't already aware, the Stratosphere conference is September 9th through 11th. You can learn more about it right here. Just scan this QR code right here. You can see the agenda. You'll see that Jan Baan is on the agenda. You'll see a bunch of other speakers. You'll see all the topics we're going to cover. So I encourage you to scan that QR code to learn more about the event. And if you'd like to register, just use the discount code EARLYBIRD and you'll get 20% off. Although it's not so early anymore. It's only a few weeks away, but Early Bird will get you a discount. It's September 9th through 11th in Denver. If you can't be there in person, we also have virtual passes available. But if you don't mind, while people are scanning the QR code to learn more about this event, tell us a little bit. Can you give us a little bit of a preview of what it is you plan to talk about? What kind of stuff, in addition to what we've talked about here today, what can we expect out of your presentation at the Digital Stratosphere conference?
I will go deep to real to present a little how I'm working with it and how the whole elements from this phase zero, bringing everything therein. What we now learn, especially for us, a revolution, because we came immediately now to make from focusing on the business in the driver's seat, developing, and as a team, and all the consequences of this one. What we like to do, how it go with this blueprint, what means it then, how you're generating, how the deployment works, scalability. But again, the real focus is not the cost of ERP is sometimes expensive, say people, but only if you have a company with 100 million, it's still less than 5% of your revenue. And you can win not so much money. But if you can triple, if a company has 10 million, 10% EBITDA, you can make it 30%.
Mm-hmm.
The tremendous win with AI is in the EBITDA and not in the simple cost of IT. IT was expensive, but it's only 5% and less, maybe 2% sometimes. And we are not talking over the cost of manufacturing. Now, that means from an enterprise, IT is very limited.
Right.
It's crucial. But now we bring but through IT with AI, we bring the whole enterprise in every worker, every knowledge worker can be 4 or 5 times more productive. And there is the money. And the money is there, the more downstream. But we should do it as a team, because if we do this, what we now do, in this low code, we have no integration with ERP and with these transaction systems. And then you're missing everything.
Right.
You can say it's not important. No, it is crucial. It's the foundation. ERP is the beginning of all of the data. The PLM and the ERP data is the beginning of all.
Right.
But it was too much mainstream. But it's the beginning of the stream. It's coming from the mountain where the water is coming. And let's take then this SQL small river and put that in a semantic data lake.
Right.
And then focus, even processes are over. We go to workflow.
Right.
And this is the new way of thinking, need no longer big processes. Because the workflow can now be synchronized, united together in a consumerized way. All the tools are there.
Right.
We did not have the tools for that. And AI have given, and for me, it's amazing the boost what I see in a positive way, how productive we are now with all my people in the development area. It was amazing what we accomplished in a couple of months now there in this new, and I will show you there also the new Rappit real element. There's a tremendous breakthrough from this, and I like to go deeper in the way of the deterministic data and the probabilistic way, how to use AI. I will also spend more attention on this one also there.
Right. Well, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great discussion. Every time I hear you speak at one of these conferences and on this podcast, I learn so much from you. So I really appreciate you being here today. And I appreciate you making the journey to the US to be part of our Stratosphere conference here in September. And again, if you'd like to learn more about the conference, you can scan the QR code right here. and you can see the agenda. You can register there, and hope to see you there. It's a great event, and it's good for learning, good for peer networking. It's a lot of fun. So hope to see you there, and really appreciate you being here on the podcast here today, Jan.
Nice meeting you and all the audience. Nice to meet you, and looking forward to meet you in Denver.
Absolutely. Be sure to check out Rappit and see what they're doing there over to spell that it's Rappit.
Yeah.
It's Rappit, based out of the Netherlands. Really interesting.
We are repetizing the world.
Rappitizing the world. Yes, yes, indeed. You've got a great team.
But we do it. What you say, that was the name of this podcast is the business. Is it now? And I should say we can say yes. What you mentioned this launch. Can the business now be in the driver's seat? And I should say this is a tremendous breakthrough for the first time. Now we can say the business is becoming in the driver's seat.
So the answer to this entire hour conversation, we could have summarized in one word, and that is yes. Yes, business can be in the driver's seat. I think we answered the question. Well, thank you so much for being here, Jan. Really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you in September.
Thanks, Eric. Looking forward.
Yeah, likewise. And thanks to the audience for the great questions. We're going to edit this podcast, or edit this interview. We'll add additional content to it. It'll become part of our official Transformation Ground Control podcast series. So you look for this episode to be released next week as a full podcast on all the audio platforms, all the podcast platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, etc. We do this live discussion every week, same time, same place, as part of our live production of the podcast. So thank you for being here today. Hope you all have a great day and a great week, and we will see you all next time. Thanks again.